Hey folks, today we're going to be building us a hair crappie jig, and I'm telling you, this thing is fire. I love building this jig and love fishing it even more, so let's get to it. Okay folks, today I want to go over the materials that we're going to be using. They're different than what we've used in our previous videos. We've used silicone in all of our previous videos, but I want to show you some different materials today. So we're going to start off our first layer with the Fluorescent Chartreuse bucktail. I picked this up at a local Bass Pro Shop here. And the next layer will be a Fluorescent Yellow bucktail. Again, I picked it up here local also. It's kind of nice to be able to see it, what you're getting, especially when it comes to these bucktails before I get it. And the next one is something that if you're new, you may not have heard of, and if you've been doing this a long time, probably heard of it, but maybe hadn't thought about using it in a crappie jig. But that is kiptail, and this one is fire orange, and you can see I've been using it a pretty good bit, mostly for making this design that we're making today. And the design we're going to be doing today is a fire tiger crappie jig. And then my chenille is it's a woolly booger Antron chenille, and it's the medium fluorescent chartreuse. I like this because it's a little bit finer than the chenille that we usually use, and on this bait the body can get pretty big pretty quick. So this is the chenille we're using today. I got it at a local fly shop here. And then we're going to be using 210 flat wax denier chartreuse thread. So let's get to it. So the jig I have in the vise today, this is a 1/8 ounce SDG go-to jig. I got it from Adam over at SDG. I love this jig mainly for its profile. When that fish is underneath it looking up at this bait, it's got the profile of a shad or a minnow, and the same when it's falling downward, it has that same look. When I look at a pill head, no matter which way I'm looking at it, it just looks kind of like a round ball. So I really like the profile of his head, and it's worked really well for us. So let's get to tying this thing. So as usual, first thing right off the bat, I'm going to put just a little bit of clear fingernail polish. This is Sally Hansen's. And a tiny little bit will do. You don't need a lot. Then we're going to start right behind the head and wrap towards the hook point. Once I get a few wraps on there, I'm going to cut this tag off. And we'll keep heading towards the hook. This is a number 2 hook, so it's a little longer than the 4s. If it were a 4, I would go all the way back to the hook, but because it's 2, I'm going to stop here and go back towards the top. So now we're ready to tie our bucktail in. And if you're new, just so you know, the sweet spot for these bucktails for the crappie jigs is pretty much this middle part right here. So I'm just going to grab me up a little bit. I don't really have an exact way to tell you how much. I just get what I think looks good. I may put a little more than most, but I like it. So that gets this one. The next thing we're going to do once we get it cut, I'm going to pull the short hairs out of the bottom of it first. And then when you look at the top of it, these are all uneven. There's some really long ones, some short ones. So I'm just going to start stacking them. So pull the long ones out, even them up with some of these shorter ones. And I just keep doing this until I get it all uniform and like I like it. It takes a little bit. You get better at it the more you do it. It takes a little bit of time. They have some tools that you can put it in and bang it down, and it'll help line it up. But for the sake of the video, I've got one already evened out. It hasn't been cut yet, but it's evened out. You can see that looks a lot different than what we had before. Now I'm just going to lay it up on the jig to get a measurement. I want it to be about the length of the whole jig, so get it. There we go. We got the tails even with the back of the jig. I'm going to swap hands and cut it off right there. Now I'm going to get a good grip on it. I'm going to lay it right up on the hook shank. Oh, I almost messed this up. This is our top color. So we need to turn the jig over and put it on the top. I'm going to kind of split this in half. Lay it right on top of the hook shank. And get it even with the back of the head. I'll put me some wraps on it real quick to get it kind of tamed down and wrangled in. Then I'm going to just take a look at it and see if it's where I want it. So I want to make sure it's just about halfway around the hook shank. So I got to turn this around just a little bit. There we go. I want it right straight on the top. I'm going to cut some of these long pieces out. I didn't do a good job getting it evened up with the head. This is probably not necessary because the chenille is going to cover most of this, but for some reason it just makes me feel better to get it off and to have it pretty much even. So now I'm going to hold it, squeeze it with my fingers real tight, holding it, because when I pull down this bucktail, it's even worse than the silicone. It's slippery, it'll turn on us. So I'm going to get it real tight while I'm pinching it. Get a couple of more wraps on it. Good tight wraps, pulling it down tight. I'll check it one more time. That looks pretty good. So now we're going to do the same thing with the fluorescent yellow. So now we got it even. I'm going to lay it right up here. And I want it the same length as the fluorescent green, so there's my mark right there. I'm going to cut it off. I'll lay it right behind the head of the jig. This is the way it was supposed to go last time, but this is much better. I'm going to squeeze it real tight to hold it there and get me some good tight wraps. Now let's roll it around and check on it. Both sides of that look really good. So again, just gonna wrangle it in so I can keep a squeeze on it while we wrap back. Now the next part is our kiptail. One thing to remember about kiptail is from the closer you are to the base of it, the shorter the hairs are. As you get down towards the bottom, the hairs get much longer. I'm not looking for it to be the full length on this one, so I'm going to come up here where some of these shorter hairs are. We're going to do it just like we did on the bucktail. I don't need a lot of this. You'll see how this plays out. But then we'll just cut it off right at the base. Pull out those few little hairs, and now we're ready for this to go, and we want this on the bottom. So I'm gonna set it up here. I don't want it to go all the way out to the end. I kind of just want it to stick out just a little. So I'm gonna trim this off a little bit. And kiptail is very slippery. It'll roll around on you really easy, so I usually put just a tiny bit of super glue right on the top of the hook shank. And I work really hard to not glue my finger to this jig, but I'm going to lay that right on top. Give me some good snug wraps. Now our next step, I don't think I mentioned this when I was showing you the materials, but we're just going to put some black Flashabou on here. So I'm just going to get me one strand of it. It's just black Flashabou. Double it up. I'm going to lay it right on the side of the hook shank. Get me a few wraps to hold it down. I'm struggling with it. Sorry, y'all. I'm going to cut it off just a little bit longer than the skirt. Now we're going to flip it over and we're going to do the same thing. Double it over. Lay it right up on the side of the hook shank. Get me a few wraps to hold it in. Trim it off. Hang on to it so it stays good and even, and wrap it back to the back. Now our next step is our chenille. Before I put it on, I like to pull some of the outer threads off of it so I am down to the inner matrix of it. Spin it a few times. Lay it on here at a 45-degree angle, and when I do that, when I make that first wrap, it lays right up on top, and that's pretty much where I want it. So now I'm going to get some good tight wraps all the way to the head. Now we've got it all the way back up to the head, got a nice even body. So I'm just going to make a couple of wraps. I'm going to go under the chenille, make one wrap, going to go under the chenille again, and make a couple of wraps. And now we're ready to cut it off. I want to cut it off real close to the body, but gotta be careful we don't cut the thread, so get it nice and even. There we go. That's a good cut. I'm going to grab just the end of that chenille and pull it in tight. There we go. And now we just need the loop finish. 1, 2, 3, 4. Want to be careful and make sure that we don't wrap that hook, that thread around the eye of that hook. It's not, so I'm going to go ahead and snug it down, and then we'll cut it off. Got some wild hairs here. I'm going to have to get them off of there. There we go. It looks better. I don't think the fish care, but I do, so we got it off of there. And now we're just going to put some water-based head cement on to seal it off and finish it up. And there we go. We have our finished product. Well, folks, we finished up our Fire Tiger jig. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I do building it. I really like building this jig. I love fishing this jig as well. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe and like and share. Tell somebody else about us. And just leave us some comments if you've got any suggestions or ideas for things for us to do. I look forward to seeing you next time. y'all get to fishing.